Leah walked through the busy streets, clutching her tattered bag tightly. Her once vibrant eyes now looked dull, weighed down by months of suffering. She had not eaten a proper meal in days, and the little money she had managed to scrape together by doing odd jobs had run out. Hunger gnawed at her stomach as she passed by the fruit market. The aroma of ripe oranges and bananas wafted through the air, making her pause. She hesitated, staring longingly at the neatly arranged fruits on display. The market was bustling with life, with vendors shouting to attract customers and buyers haggling over prices. Leah's gaze lingered on a pile of apples. She thought to herself, maybe I can just buy one and have something in my stomach. She approached a vendor, an elderly man with a wrinkled face and a sharp gaze. "Excuse me, sir," Leah said hesitantly. Her voice was soft, almost drowned out by the noise around her. "How much is one apple?" The man barely glanced at her before replying curtly, $2. Leah's heart sank. She fumbled through her bag and pulled out the few coins she had, realizing they were not enough. She forced a smile. "Can you sell it to me for $1? I promise I'll come back and pay the rest later." The vendor scowled. "This is not a charity. If you don't have the money, don't waste my time," he snapped, turning his attention to another customer. Leah's face burned with humiliation. She stepped back, clutching her bag tighter, feeling the weight of the stares from nearby shoppers. She turned to leave, but her stomach growled loudly, making her stop. The thought of another day without food was unbearable. She glanced back at the apples, her heart pounding. "Should I just take one? No, I can't. But I'm so hungry." Before she could decide, a commotion broke out nearby. A young boy accidentally knocked over a crate of oranges, causing a distraction. In that moment, Leah instinctively reached out and grabbed an apple. Her hand trembled as she slipped it into her bag. She hadn't even taken a step when a loud voice shouted, "Thief! She stole an apple." Leah froze. The vendor was pointing directly at her, his voice rising above the market noise. "This woman stole from me. Someone stop her." "I didn't mean to," Leah began, but the vendor cut her off. "Don't lie. I saw you. Guards, arrest her." A couple of market guards rushed over and grabbed Leah by the arms. She struggled, tears streaming down her face. "Please, it's not what it looks like. I didn't mean to steal." The crowd began to gather, murmuring and laughing. "Look at her," someone said, "another street beggar trying to steal." "Disgusting. Probably does this all the time," another voice added. Leah felt her cheeks burn as she looked around, her desperation turning into panic. "Please," she pleaded with the guards, "I'll pay for it. I just need time." The vendor scoffed. "She doesn't have money. Lock her up. That's where she belongs." As Leah continued to plead, a sleek black car pulled up near the market. Inside was Gabriel Montenegro, a tall and impeccably dressed man in his early 30s. He had been on his way to a meeting when the commotion caught his attention. From the car, he could see Leah's tear-streaked face and hear her desperate cries. Something about her struck a chord deep within him. "Stop the car," Gabriel instructed his driver. The car came to a halt, and Gabriel stepped out. His commanding presence immediately silenced part of the crowd as he walked toward the scene. The guards hesitated when they noticed him, recognizing his face. Gabriel Montenegro was a well-known figure in the city, wealthy, powerful, and not someone to cross. "What's going on here?" Gabriel asked, his deep voice cutting through the noise. "This woman stole from me," the vendor said indignantly, pointing at Leah. "She thinks she can just take what she wants, without paying." Gabriel's eyes shifted to Leah, who was still being held by the guards. Her disheveled appearance and tearful eyes told him all he needed to know. "Did you steal the apple?" he asked calmly. Leah looked at him, trembling. I didn't mean to. I was just so hungry." Gabriel studied her for a moment before turning to the vendor. "How much does the apple cost?" $2, the vendor replied. Gabriel pulled out his wallet and handed the man a crisp $50 bill. Here. This should cover the apple and any other fruits she might need. The vendor's eyes widened, but he quickly pocketed the money, mumbling, "Well, if you say so." Gabriel then looked at the guards. "Let her go." The guards exchanged nervous glances, but released Leah immediately. She stumbled forward, looking up at Gabriel with a mix of gratitude and confusion. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice shaking. Gabriel nodded but said nothing more. As he turned to leave, Leah called out, "Why did you help me?" He paused, glancing back at her. "Because everyone deserves a second chance," he said simply, before walking away. Leah stood there, clutching her bag, her heart pounding. For the first time in what felt like forever, someone had shown her kindness. She didn't know who Gabriel Montenegro was, but his actions had given her a glimmer of hope in her darkest moment. Leah sat on the cold, hard bench of the jail cell, her head resting against the wall. The dim light above her flickered, casting long shadows on the cracked walls. The air was heavy with despair, and the sounds of other detainees arguing or sobbing filled the space. She pulled her knees close to her chest, trying to make herself as small as possible. 2 days had passed since her arrest, and no one had come for her. She felt invisible, like her life had truly hit rock bottom. She thought back to the kind stranger who had paid for the apple, wondering if he was just a fleeting moment of kindness in an otherwise cruel world. The sound of footsteps echoed down the hallway, pulling Leah from her thoughts. A guard approached her cell, jangling a set of keys in his hand. "Leah, you have a visitor," he said gruffly, unlocking the cell door. Leah's heart skipped a beat. A visitor? She wasn't expecting anyone. Slowly, she stood up, brushing dust off her tattered dress. As she stepped out of the cell, she saw a familiar face waiting for her. It was him, the man from the market, the one who had paid for the apple. He stood tall in his perfectly tailored suit, his shoes gleaming under the flickering lights. His presence seemed out of place in the grimy police station, like a diamond in a pile of coal. Leah's brows furrowed in confusion as she approached him. "You," she murmured, her voice barely audible. "What are you doing here?" Gabriel Montenegro's sharp, observant eyes softened as he looked at her. "I came to help," he said simply. Leah's lips parted, but no words came out. She didn't understand. Why would a millionaire, a man who clearly had no reason to care about someone like her, go out of his way to help? "I don't understand," she finally managed to say. "Why are you doing this?" Gabriel gestured for her to sit on the bench in the waiting area. Once they were seated, he leaned forward slightly, resting his elbows on his knees. "I saw what happened at the market," he began. "The way they treated you, it wasn't right. You didn't deserve that." Leah's throat tightened. She wasn't used to anyone standing up for her, let alone a wealthy man like Gabriel. "But, you don't even know me," she said, her voice trembling. Gabriel nodded, acknowledging her point. "You're right. I don't know you. But I saw something in you that day, something different. Despite everything you've been through, you haven't lost your dignity. That's rare." Leah looked down at her hands, unsure how to respond. His words felt genuine, but she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this than simple kindness. "So, you came here to bail me out?" she asked cautiously. Gabriel's lips curved into a small smile, but there was a hint of mischief in his eyes. "Yes, but there's a condition." Leah stiffened. Of course, she thought. There's always a catch. She straightened her back, her tone defensive. "What kind of condition?" Gabriel leaned back, his expression unreadable. "I need you to help me with something," he said. "There's a wedding I have to attend in a few days, my ex-fiancé's wedding. I want you to come with me as my date." Leah blinked, unsure if she had heard him correctly. "A wedding?" she repeated, incredulous. "You want me to pretend to be your date?" Gabriel nodded, his gaze steady. "Exactly. My ex needs to see that I've moved on, and having you with me will send a message." Leah's jaw tightened. So, you're saying you'll pay my bail in exchange for me pretending to be someone I'm not? Just to make your ex jealous? Gabriel didn't flinch at her tone. Yes, he said, his voice calm but firm. That's the deal. Leah's mind raced. On one hand, the idea felt humiliating, being paraded around as part of some millionaire's game. But on the other hand, what choice did she have? Staying in this cell was not an option. She was desperate, and Gabriel was offering her a way out. She looked him in the eye, searching for any hint of deceit. Why me? She asked quietly. You could have chosen anyone. Why a homeless woman sitting in jail? Gabriel's expression softened. Because you're real, he said simply. You don't come from the same world as my ex, or the people at that wedding. That's what makes you perfect for this. Leah hesitated, still unsure if she could trust him. But the alternative, remaining in jail, hungry and hopeless, left her with little choice. Finally, she nodded, though her voice was laced with doubt. Fine. I'll do it. Gabriel's smile returned, this time more genuine. Good. I'll handle the paperwork to get you out. We'll discuss the details later. As he stood and prepared to leave, Leah called after him, her voice wary. What happens after the wedding? What happens to me? Gabriel paused, turning back to her. We'll cross that bridge when we get there, he said, his tone enigmatic. For now, let's focus on getting you out of here. Leah watched him walk away, her emotions a whirlwind of confusion, fear, and the faintest flicker of hope. For the first time in a long while, she felt like her life might be about to change, but whether for better or worse, she couldn't yet tell. The clang of the prison gates echoed behind Leah as she stepped into the sunlight. She blinked, shielding her eyes, not used to the brightness after the dim, confined space of her cell. A sleek black car waited a few steps ahead, gleaming in the afternoon sun. Gabriel Montenegro leaned casually against the car, his sharp suit immaculate and his expression unreadable. You're free now, Gabriel said as Leah approached him hesitantly. How does it feel? Leah glanced back at the towering gates, her heart heavy with a mix of relief and uncertainty. I don't know, she admitted. It doesn't feel real yet. Gabriel opened the car door for her. Get in. There's a lot we need to do. Leah hesitated. The idea of stepping into a world so different from her own made her stomach churn. But she reminded herself of the deal, she had agreed to this. Slowly, she slid into the leather seat, her fingers trailing over the smooth surface, feeling out of place. As the car sped through the city, Leah stared out the window, watching the familiar streets of her rough life fade into the distance. The car eventually pulled into the driveway of an upscale boutique. Gabriel stepped out first and gestured for her to follow. Inside, the boutique sparkled with elegance. Rows of designer dresses, shoes, and accessories surrounded her, each piece more luxurious than the last. Leah fidgeted, feeling like an imposter. What are we doing here? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Gabriel smirked. If you're going to be my date, you need to look the part. We'll start with the wardrobe. Before Leah could protest, a well-dressed woman approached them. Mr. Montenegro, always a pleasure, she said with a smile, then turned her sharp eyes to Leah. And this must be your companion. Leah flushed, but Gabriel stepped in smoothly. Yes, she needs a full makeover. Something stunning, elegant, and unexpected. The woman nodded briskly and clapped her hands. Of course. Right this way, miss. Leah found herself swept into a whirlwind of measuring tapes, fabric swatches, and polite but firm instructions. Stand up straight. Chin up. Yes, like that, the tailor instructed as Leah shifted awkwardly in her seat. After what felt like hours, Leah stepped out of the fitting room wearing an emerald green gown that hugged her figure perfectly. She caught her reflection in the mirror and hardly recognized herself. For a moment, she stood frozen, running her hands over the fabric. Is this really me? She murmured. Gabriel, who had been waiting nearby, looked up from his phone and gave her an approving nod. Much better. Now we're getting somewhere. Leah frowned, crossing her arms. Why are you doing all this? I mean, really. What's in it for you? Gabriel met her gaze, his expression unreadable. We made a deal, remember? You help me, and I help you. It's as simple as that. But it doesn't feel simple, Leah muttered, still staring at herself in the mirror. She turned back to him, her voice firm. You're a millionaire. You could have hired anyone to play this role. Why me? Gabriel's lips quirked into a half-smile. Because you're not like them. You're not polished, rehearsed, or fake. People at that wedding will notice that, and that's exactly what I want. Leah swallowed hard, unsure whether to feel flattered or insulted. So, I'm just a tool in your plan to get back at your ex? Think of it as a mutually beneficial arrangement, Gabriel said with a shrug. You needed a way out of that cell, and I needed someone authentic. Win-win. Despite his smooth words, Leah couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to his motives than he was letting on. But for now, she had no choice but to play along. The next few days were a blur of lessons and rehearsals. Gabriel brought in a professional etiquette coach, a stern woman named Mrs. Davenport, to teach Leah how to walk, talk, and act like someone from his world. Head high, shoulders back, Mrs. Davenport instructed as Leah stumbled in a pair of high heels. You're not some common girl on the streets. You're a lady now. Leah clenched her jaw, biting back a retort. Instead, she focused on staying upright, her feet aching from the unfamiliar shoes. She caught Gabriel watching her from the corner of the room, his expression amused, but also oddly encouraging. You're doing better than I expected, he said one evening as she practiced using silverware at a formal dining table. Leah rolled her eyes. Is that supposed to be a compliment? Gabriel chuckled, leaning back in his chair. Take it however you want. Despite her initial resentment, Leah began to notice a softer side to Gabriel. He wasn't as cold or calculating as she'd first thought. He showed patience when she struggled, even offering small words of encouragement when she got things right. But just as she started to lower her guard, she'd catch him looking at her with an intensity that made her question his true intentions. One evening, as they sat in the car returning from another fitting, Leah broke the silence. What happens after the wedding? She asked quietly. What happens to me? Gabriel's gaze flicked to her, his expression unreadable in the dim light. We'll cross that bridge when we get there. Leah sighed, her unease growing. She was grateful for the chance to start fresh, but she couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that she was stepping into a world she didn't fully understand. For now, all she could do was trust Gabriel, and hope she wouldn't regret it. The day of the wedding arrived, and Leah stood before a grand mirror, hardly recognizing the woman reflected back at her. The emerald gown she wore accentuated her figure, and her hair was styled in elegant waves. Yet, beneath the glamorous exterior, her heart raced with anxiety. Gabriel entered the room, adjusting his cufflinks. His eyes met Leah's in the mirror, and he offered a reassuring smile. Ready? He asked. Leah took a deep breath. As ready as I'll ever be. The venue was a sprawling estate, adorned with flowers and filled with elegantly dressed guests. Leah clung to Gabriel's arm as they made their entrance, feeling the weight of countless eyes upon her. Almost immediately, whispers rippled through the crowd. Who's that with Gabriel? Isn't that his ex-fiancée's wedding? Leah's grip tightened on Gabriel's arm. Just smile, Gabriel murmured. Remember, we're here to make an impression. As they approached the reception area, a woman in a bridal gown turned to face them. Her smile faltered upon seeing Gabriel and Leah together. Gabriel, she greeted, her voice strained. I didn't expect to see you here. Gabriel's expression remained composed. I wouldn't miss it, Claire. This is Leah, my date. Claire's eyes flickered with surprise and something akin to jealousy. Nice to meet you, Leah. Leah offered a polite nod. Congratulations on your wedding. Claire forced a smile. Thank you. If you'll excuse me, I have other guests to attend to. As Claire walked away, Gabriel leaned in close to Leah. It's working, he whispered. Leah frowned. I feel like a pawn in some game between you two. Gabriel sighed. I told you my reasons. Let's just get through this evening. Throughout the event, Leah's natural charm began to shine. She engaged in conversations with guests, her genuine interest and warmth drawing people in. Gabriel, where did you find her? One of his business associates asked. She's delightful. Gabriel glanced at Leah, a hint of admiration in his eyes. She's full of surprises. As the night progressed, Leah observed Gabriel more closely. Beneath his confident exterior, she sensed a vulnerability, a man still affected by past heartbreak. Why did you and Claire break up? Leah asked during a quiet moment. Gabriel's jaw tightened. Differences we couldn't reconcile. Leah nodded slowly. And bringing me here was to prove a point? Gabriel met her gaze. Partly. But also to move forward. Leah looked around the opulent surroundings, then back at Gabriel. I agreed to this to get out of a bad situation. But now, I'm wondering what I've gotten myself into. Gabriel reached out, gently taking her hand. I won't let any harm come to you, Leah. Trust me. Leah searched his eyes, seeing sincerity, but also a complexity she couldn't fully decipher. She nodded, though uncertainty lingered in her heart. As the evening drew to a close, Gabriel and Leah prepared to leave. Claire approached them once more, her expression unreadable. Gabriel, Leah, she began, thank you for coming. It was unexpected. Gabriel offered a polite smile. We wish you happiness, Claire. Claire's gaze lingered on Leah. Take care, she said softly, before turning away. In the car ride home, Leah stared out the window, her mind awash with conflicting emotions. What's on your mind? Gabriel asked. Leah sighed. I'm not sure where I fit into all of this. Gabriel reached over, gently squeezing her hand. You're not just a pawn, Leah. Tonight, you were remarkable. Leah turned to him, searching his face for the truth. I hope that's true, Gabriel. Because I'm taking a leap of faith here. Gabriel's eyes softened. And I won't let you fall. As the city lights blurred past, Leah allowed herself a moment of cautious hope, even as questions about Gabriel's true intentions continued to swirl in her mind. As the evening's festivities continued, the opulent ballroom buzzed with laughter and clinking glasses. Leah, still adjusting to her role as Gabriel's companion, felt a mix of excitement and unease. The grandeur of the event was overwhelming, and she couldn't shake the feeling of being an imposter in her elegant attire. Suddenly, a familiar figure approached them, Claire, Gabriel's ex-fiancée. Her expression was a blend of anger and hurt. Gabriel, can we talk? Claire's voice was tense, barely concealing her frustration. Gabriel nodded, his demeanor calm. Of course. They stepped aside, but Leah remained within earshot, unable to ignore the confrontation. Is this some kind of joke to you? Claire hissed. Bringing her here, to my wedding? Are you trying to humiliate me? Gabriel sighed, running a hand through his hair. Claire, it's not about you. I needed to move on, and Leah, she's helping me do that. Claire's eyes narrowed. By parading her around in front of me? That's cruel, even for you. Gabriel's expression softened, revealing a vulnerability Leah hadn't seen before. I didn't intend to hurt you. I needed to prove to myself that I could let go. Claire stared at him for a moment, then shook her head. You've changed, Gabriel. I hope you find what you're looking for. With that, she turned and walked away, leaving Gabriel standing alone. Leah approached him cautiously. Are you okay? Gabriel forced a smile. I'm fine. Let's get some fresh air. They stepped out onto a secluded balcony, the cool night air providing a welcome relief from the crowded ballroom. Gabriel, Leah began softly, Was this really just about revenge? He leaned against the railing, gazing out into the night. At first, maybe. But seeing Claire tonight, I realized it was more about proving to myself that I could move on, that I wasn't stuck in the past. Leah nodded, understanding his struggle. It's hard to let go of someone you once loved. He looked at her, his eyes reflecting a mix of emotions. Yes, it is. But having you here, it's made it easier. Leah's heart skipped a beat. I'm glad I could help. Gabriel took a deep breath, as if steeling himself for what he was about to say next. Leah, I have a proposition for you. She raised an eyebrow, curiosity piqued. What kind of proposition? He turned to face her fully, his expression earnest. Stay with me for the next 6 months. Pretend to be my girlfriend. In return, I'll help you rebuild your life, find a job, a place to live, whatever you need. Leah's eyes widened in shock. You want me to continue this charade for 6 months? Gabriel nodded. Yes. It would benefit both of us. You'd have stability, and I'd have someone by my side as I navigate certain social circles. She took a step back, processing his words. Gabriel, I appreciate everything you've done for me, but this is a lot to ask. He reached out, gently taking her hand. I know it's unconventional, but think about it. You'd have a chance to start over, and I'd have someone I trust by my side. Leah looked down at their joined hands, her mind racing. The offer was tempting, a chance to rebuild her life with the support of someone who had already shown her kindness. But the idea of living a lie for 6 months, pretending to be in a relationship, felt overwhelming. I don't know, Gabriel, she said finally, her voice trembling. It's a big decision. He squeezed her hand gently. I understand. Take your time to think about it. Whatever you decide, I'll respect your choice. Leah nodded, appreciating his patience. Thank you. They stood in silence for a moment, the night air wrapping around them like a comforting blanket. You should know, Gabriel said quietly, breaking the silence, this isn't just about appearances for me. I enjoy your company, Leah. More than I expected. She looked up at him, searching his eyes for any hint of deceit, but found none. I enjoy your company too, Gabriel. But I need to be sure that this is the right choice for me. He nodded, a small smile playing on his lips. Of course. Take all the time you need. As they rejoined the wedding reception, Leah's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. Gabriel's offer was both an opportunity and a challenge, and she needed to decide whether to take the risk or walk away. The following morning, Leah sat in the cozy kitchen of Gabriel's penthouse, a cup of steaming coffee warming her hands. She had spent a sleepless night pondering his proposal, weighing the pros and cons. Gabriel entered the kitchen, his hair slightly tousled, a sign that he hadn't slept well either. Good morning, he greeted, his voice gentle. Morning, Leah replied, offering a tentative smile. He poured himself a cup of coffee and joined her at the table. Have you given any more thought to my proposal? Leah took a deep breath, meeting his gaze. I have. And I have some conditions of my own. Gabriel's eyebrows rose in surprise, but he nodded. I'm listening. First, Leah began. Claire's eyes narrowed. By parading her around in front of me? That's cruel, even for you. Gabriel's expression softened, revealing a vulnerability Leah hadn't seen before. I didn't intend to hurt you. I needed to prove to myself that I could let go. Claire stared at him for a moment, then shook her head. You've changed, Gabriel. I hope you find what you're looking for. With that, she turned and walked away, leaving Gabriel standing alone. Leah approached him cautiously. Are you okay? Gabriel forced a smile. I'm fine. Let's get some fresh air. They stepped out onto a secluded balcony, the cool night air providing a welcome relief from the crowded ballroom. Gabriel, Leah began softly, was this really just about revenge? He leaned against the railing, gazing out into the night. At first, maybe. But seeing Claire tonight, I realized it was more about proving to myself that I could move on, that I wasn't stuck in the past. Leah nodded, understanding his struggle. It's hard to let go of someone you once loved. He looked at her, his eyes reflecting a mix of emotions. Yes, it is. But having you here, it's made it easier. Leah's heart skipped a beat. I'm glad I could help. Gabriel took a deep breath, as if steeling himself for what he was about to say next. Leah, I have a proposition for you. She raised an eyebrow, curiosity piqued. What kind of proposition? He turned to face her fully, his expression earnest. Stay with me for the next 6 months. Pretend to be my girlfriend. In return, I'll help you rebuild your life, find a job, a place to live, whatever you need. Leah's eyes widened in shock. You want me to continue this charade for 6 months? Gabriel nodded. Yes. It would benefit both of us. You'd have stability, and I'd have someone by my side as I navigate certain social circles. She took a step back, processing his words. Gabriel, I appreciate everything you've done for me, but this is a lot to ask. He reached out, gently taking her hand. I know it's unconventional, but think about it. You'd have a chance to start over, and I'd have someone I trust by my side. Leah looked down at their joined hands, her mind racing. The offer was tempting, a chance to rebuild her life with the support of someone who had already shown her kindness. But the idea of living a lie for 6 months, pretending to be in a relationship, felt overwhelming. I don't know, Gabriel, she said finally, her voice trembling. It's a big decision. He squeezed her hand gently. I understand. Take your time to think about it. Whatever you decide, I'll respect your choice. Leah nodded, appreciating his patience. Thank you. They stood in silence for a moment, the night air wrapping around them like a comforting blanket. You should know, Gabriel said quietly, breaking the silence, this isn't just about appearances for me. I enjoy your company, Leah. More than I expected. She looked up at him, searching his eyes for any hint of deceit, but found none. I enjoy your company too, Gabriel. But I need to be sure that this is the right choice for me. He nodded, a small smile playing on his lips. Of course. Take all the time you need. As they rejoined the wedding reception, Leah's mind was a whirlwind of thoughts and emotions. Gabriel's offer was both an opportunity and a challenge, and she needed to decide whether to take the risk or walk away. The following morning, Leah sat in the cozy kitchen of Gabriel's penthouse, a cup of steaming coffee warming her hands. She had spent a sleepless night pondering his proposal, weighing the pros and cons. Gabriel entered the kitchen, his hair slightly tousled, a sign that he hadn't slept well either. Good morning, he greeted, his voice gentle. Morning, Leah replied, offering a tentative smile. He poured himself a cup of coffee and joined her at the table. Have you given any more thought to my proposal? Leah took a deep breath, meeting his gaze. I have. And I have some conditions of my own. Gabriel's eyebrows rose in surprise, but he nodded. I'm listening. First, Leah began. Leah took a deep breath, meeting Gabriel's gaze with determination. First, she began, I want complete honesty between us. No hidden agendas or surprises. Gabriel nodded, his expression serious. Agreed. Transparency is essential. Second, Leah continued, I need assurance that after 6 months, I'll have the means to support myself independently, a stable job, a place to live. I'll ensure you have both, Gabriel replied without hesitation. Leah studied him for a moment, searching for any sign of insincerity, but found none. All right, Gabriel. I'll do it. I'll stay with you for 6 months. A genuine smile spread across Gabriel's face, a mixture of relief and gratitude. Thank you, Leah. I promise you won't regret this decision. The following months unfolded in ways neither of them had anticipated. Leah adapted to her new role, attending social events and business gatherings as Gabriel's partner. Her natural charm and intelligence won over many of Gabriel's associates, and she found herself growing more comfortable in this world of luxury and influence. Gabriel, in turn, remained true to his word. He was open and honest with Leah, sharing his thoughts, fears, and the complexities of his business dealings. He arranged for her to take courses in areas that interested her, helping her build skills for a future career. One evening, as they returned from a particularly successful charity gala, Gabriel turned to Leah in the back seat of the car. "You were incredible tonight. The way you spoke about the foundation moved everyone in the room." Leah smiled, a warm feeling spreading through her chest. "I believed in what I was saying. It's easy to speak passionately about something that matters." Gabriel reached over, gently taking her hand. "You've become an integral part of my life, Leah. More than just a partner in this arrangement." Leah's heart skipped a beat. "Gabriel, what are you saying?" He looked into her eyes, his gaze intense yet tender. "I'm saying that somewhere along the way, this stopped being just an arrangement for me. I care about you, deeply." Leah felt a surge of emotions, joy, fear, hope. "I care about you too, Gabriel. But what happens when the 6 months are over?" Gabriel squeezed her hand gently. "That's up to us. We can redefine our relationship on our own terms, without any pretense." As the car pulled up to Gabriel's residence, Leah pondered his words. The idea of a future with Gabriel was both exhilarating and daunting. She needed time to process her feelings and consider what she truly wanted. Over the next few weeks, Leah and Gabriel continued to grow closer, their bond deepening beyond the initial agreement. They shared laughter, dreams, and vulnerabilities, discovering a genuine connection that neither had expected. One afternoon, while strolling through a park, Leah paused by a fountain, watching the water cascade over the stone edges. "Gabriel, I've been thinking about our future." He stopped beside her, his expression attentive. "And what have you concluded?" Leah turned to face him, her eyes reflecting determination. "I want to be with you, not because of an arrangement, but because I choose to. But I also need to maintain my independence, to build a life and career that are my own." Gabriel smiled, admiration shining in his eyes. "I wouldn't want it any other way. Your strength and independence are part of what I love about you." Leah's heart swelled at his words. "Then let's move forward together, supporting each other's goals and building a partnership based on mutual respect and love." Hello family, Gabriel
Welcome to
took her
Jimmy's
hands
Stories.
in his.
Please
His
do
voice
remember to
filled with
subscribe.
emotion. Leave your thoughts
Leah,
on the
you've
comment
transformed
section,
my life in
and
ways
also
I
share
never
this
imagined.
video. It means the world to us.
I look forward to
Thank you
building
as
our
you do
future
so.
together.
Now sit
As they
back and
embraced
relax
by the
as we
fountain,
dive into
Leah
this
felt a
thrilling
profound
story
sense of
briefly.
contentment.
Daniel
Her
Harrington,
journey from
a wealthy
homelessness
widower
to
in his
finding love and
mid-40s,
purpose
lived
had
in a
been
grand
unexpected
mansion
and
that
seemed
seemed
to
to
reflect
but it had
everything
led
about
her
his
to a
life,
place of
immense
genuine
success,
happiness, yet overwhelming
In the
emptiness.
months that followed, Leah
The
pursued
marble
her
floor
passions,
sparkled under the
establishing a
soft glow of
successful
crystal
career with
chandeliers,
Gabriel's unwavering support.
tall windows framed a
Their
sprawling view of
relationship
the lush
flourished,
gardens,
grounded
and the
in
city
honesty,
skyline beyond.
respect, and deep affection.
Yet, despite all the beauty
Together,
and grandeur
they
surrounding
navigated the
him,
complexities
Daniel
of
felt
life,
nothing. Their bond growing
Every
stronger
corner
with
of
each
his home
passing
whispered
day.
memories of Rachel,
Leah
his
had
beloved
found not
wife,
only a partner
whose
in
laughter
Gabriel,
used to
but
fill the
also a
house,
love that
but
enriched
now
her
lingered
life
only
beyond
as a
measure.
aching silence.
And so,
He
their
sat on the
story,
edge of his
born out
leather
of an
armchair in the
unconventional
vast living
agreement,
room,
blossomed
nursing a
into a
glass of
lifelong
whiskey.
journey of love,
The
growth,
sun was
and
setting,
shared dreams. Casting an amber hue across the room,